do we need supplements? Ideally, in the ideal world, we wouldn't need to take very many supplements if you're living a normal life. Today, unfortunately, I'd love to say that's true, but it's not. So today, I think most people will need to take a supplement. And to give you an example of a supplement I think that most people need to take are the essential fats, particularly coming from the omega-3 family. If we look at historically, the intake of omega-3 used to be about 2 omega-3s to 1 omega-6 in our diet. And today, when I measure omega-3 and omega-6 ratios in red blood cells of people we're looking after, we find that ratio can be 5 to 1, 10 to 1, 15 to 1, 20 to 1, 50 to 1. So we're getting a vast excess of omega-6 to omega-3 in our bodies. So a vast over consumption of omega-6 and a relative under-consumption of omega-3. Now you get omega-3 from oily fish and nuts and seeds, and it's not that we all used to eat lots of oily fish before we stopped doing it. What's really happened is we get omega-6 from plant and vegetable oils, and from the 60s, when a group of medics decided that saturated fats were bad for you, we moved from eating saturated fat in our diet, and we've reduced that by 10% from about 40% fat intake to about 30% fat intake in our diet, and we've replaced that particularly with polyunsaturated plant fats, most of which are omega-6 based. The problem with those, with that change is that whilst it's reduced the saturated fat content in our diet, the omega-6 and the omega-3 polyunsaturated fats go on to make hormones in the body. So the omega-3 make anti-inflammatory hormones and the omega-6 make pro-inflammatory hormones. So if you overconsume a large amount of omega-6, you're going to overconsume or you're going to cause your body to make more pro-inflammatory hormones. And then we wonder why we've got more eczema, more asthma, more of these atypic disorders, inflammatory bowel disorders and so forth going on, because our bodies are essentially on red alert because we've changed the fat intake within our diet. We've also changed the fat intake within the animals that we feed. So we now corn feed cattle, and we corn feed things like chicken and poultry and so forth. And corn oils, so the oils in the corn, are omega-6 oils. So now we're increasing the omega-6 content of the animals that we eat. This changes, for example, the amount of other essential fats in those animals. Like in red meat, you get a lot of CLA, or you should if it's grass-fed. You don't get any CLA in cattle that have been corn-fed. So we're skewing the diets that we eat in favour of omega-6, and then that's affecting the hormonal state within our body. So we can look at reducing the omega-6 intake in our diet, and so that would be moving to use things like olive oil, which is an omega-9 fat, more inert, or actually using some saturated fat. It's not using too much of it, so having some organic butter. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. I'd much prefer to do that than have a omega-6 based polyunsaturated margarine. The other thing you can do is you can increase the omega-3. Our omega-3 intake has fallen as well, so that hasn't helped the situation. And so one of the ways of doing that then is to take an omega-3 supplement. And omega-3 supplementation has a vast myriad of benefits, which include in everything from reducing incidences of outbreaks of eczema and asthma and so forth at the level, but also affecting things like IQ levels in young children at school. Omega-3 is used within the synovial joint to make the synovial fluid. It's used in a whole, really a vast array of biochemical reactions that your body needs. So when we under-consume omega-3, we don't function optimally. So I think omega-3 is an example of something that you could take, or most people could use as a supplement. In terms of the best supplements, what you want are supplements that are made at a very high standard. So what you want are companies that make products to pharmaceutical grade standards. What you don't want are supplements which are made from poor ingredients and made to a lower standard, because for example, Which did a report about 6 or 7 years ago that looked at omega-3 supplementation, because cod liver oils and so forth were very popular and they wanted to have a look at them. And they found that many of those supplements were contaminated with heavy metals. Why? Because our seas are contaminated with heavy metals. So if you take your marine-based fish and you don't clean the oils before you put them into the capsules, actually you increase the heavy metals within those omega-3s. So then you can take a supplement that's got high levels of of heavy metals in it, which you wouldn't want to consume either. So quality is really, really important in terms of supplementation. What you want to do is to use a very reputable brand, and by and large in supplementation you get what you pay for. If it's as cheap as chips, it's going to have come from somewhere where the quality of both the manufacturing process and the raw ingredients are just not as good. So you need to use a good, reputable brand.